want to talk about this because I've been paying attention to this guy, and he's been on the internet a lot. He's a 35-year-old, and I think that I'm mentioning him, and I talked about him before. He's a 35-year-old executive, and he's now the CEO/president of Red Lobster. He's running Red Lobster, and he's supposed to be turning the whole business around. And so recently, I believe it was the Wall Street Journal that did a whole thing with him. Yeah, and he was talking about his strategy in order to turn Red Lobster around, similar to the way that they turned P.F. Chang around. I wanted to review this. I haven't watched it, but I wanted to review this and check it out.
This can be the greatest comeback in the history of the restaurant industry.
This is Damola Adamolican,
Let's do it.
Red Lobster's new CEO. After decades of declining sales and a promotion that was a little too popular,
Ultimate Endless Shrimp is here with a limited time flavor drop.
the 35-year-old was hired by private equity firm Fortress to lead Red Lobster out of
bankruptcy,
more than $1 billion in debt, a serious financial pinch,
and back to profitability. It's worked before. He revitalized P.F. Chang's during COVID. Fortress hopes he can do the same for America's oldest seafood chain. I spoke to the new CEO at a Red Lobster in Orlando to learn what it will take to save the chain from sinking. So I actually had dinner here last night.
Oh, did you?
And I have to say, one of the things I first noticed was the banner outside, basically like, we're open. America, we are open. Are you doing that throughout your fleet of restaurants, basically to kind of get past the bankruptcy?
That was done before I took over. The signs are still there. You're correct. I think at some point you want to address the elephant in the room, but you want to do it in a way that better reminds people of why they want to come to you in the first place.
The elephant in the room is Red Lobster's bankruptcy. When Red Lobster filed, it was over $1 billion in debt and had to close over 100 stores in 2024. Now with $70 million from Fortress, Adamolican has a lot to do. What's your to-do list look like?
Well, number one was to build the executive team. To run a great business, you need great leaders.
Over the past few years, Red Lobster has cycled through multiple CEOs. I asked an expert in casual dining why that's such a problem.
When your leadership consistently changes over and over again, it's very hard to get strategic direction. What ends up happening is that you get a sort of a confused message to the restaurant managers at the unit level.
Adamolican hopes that he'll convey a clear message to restaurants with an important change, a new menu.
What is this guy's background and where did he come from? How did he get to the point to where he was able to even be ahead of turning around P.F. Chang's and then ultimately taking over Red Lobster? I believe that networking is important. I don't believe that resume is as important. But if he's able to turn around Red Lobster right after he turned around P.F. Chang's, he'll be able to write his own ticket. This dude will be a billionaire in no time. If he's able to turn around Red Lobster and get people back into the door and make them profitable, while also guiding them through bankruptcy, he 100% will forever be able to write his own ticket. He will at some point in his lifetime become a billionaire and probably will be heading up some network company or some venture capital fund, or he will be like, get all kind of equity in order to go in and turn around businesses and stuff like that. One of the hardest businesses to run and turn around is the restaurant business, because not only are you dealing with the issues from public perception, but perception in the restaurant industry is everything. And so you have to change people's minds to what they think is value. And if they don't value it, if you're not doing a mind shift change while also giving them the better experience, it's very difficult to do. And at $70 million, he got a task on his hands.
We're diving into the nuts and bolts.
Sure.
Tell me, what is your favorite thing to order?
I would have said the snow crab, but I tried the Verdi crab recently, which is a variation on the snow crab, and that is my new favorite, I'll say.
He says that other favorites aren't prominently displayed on the menu, and best-selling items like Create Your Own Ultimate Feast are buried on page 3.
If you were to say, where's the value in this menu, you have to hunt for it. Mm-hmm. So there's things you can do both in terms of reducing the number of items, but also just the layout, right? The aesthetics, the photography.
Adamolican says that for the new menu to work, it needs a new environment. Old Red Lobsters like this one feature dark interiors, aging decor, and separated bar areas. How ambitious do you think that brand refresh could be?
So it's going to come in stages. The first stage is things that should have been fixed a long time ago that weren't, whether it's roofing or tiling or HVAC units or kitchen equipment or furniture. As a next step, you'll think about how do you inject energy into the restaurant, but I want to start with a very low cost way to do that. For example, it doesn't cost anything to change the music. Dimming lights, it has no cost to it. And then the third stage would be a complete remodel. We remodeled the entire fleet at P.F. Chang's.
The Red Lobster I visited in Orlando is
He
one
know
of...
his stuff. He know his stuff. You could tell that he know his stuff because he's not using talking points. He's just using things that he already know works in business acumen. And he's saying that, hey, first thing we got to do is we got to, deal with the low-hanging fruit. We have to make capital investments in the infrastructure in order to make sure that these restaurants can run, right? You got to update the HVAC. You got to deal with all of that type of stuff, roof, lights, all of that. So that's the fundamentals. Then you got to, tap into the low-hanging fruit. You can dim the lights. You can change the music. You can create a better ambiance at a very low cost. And then he's saying that the last and the final phase is to make sure that they continue to update everything and make it a more modern restaurant. He's absolutely right. I like this guy.
3 updated restaurants, and it's going to act as a jumping off point for future designs.
I think it can be powerful, but I don't think it's enough. I think if you're just doing that, you're sort of putting lipstick on a pig in a way, and you're not really addressing a lot of the core issues.
Any sense of how much that might cost?
Well, when I did it at P.F. Chang's, it cost us about between $300,000 and $400,000 per restaurant. Now, it lifted sales between 5 and 10% in our restaurants that we did the remodels in.
That's significant. But Red Lobster isn't just facing challenges inside its restaurants. Bankruptcies from Red Lobster and chains like TGI Fridays, Rubio's Coastal Grill, and Tijuana Flats mean that
I like Fridays. I know it's a lot of people
is on track
that always give Fridays flack and stuff like that. I like Fridays, TGI Fridays. I don't know if they still got the Jack Daniels strips and stuff like that, but I used to like the Jack Daniels strips. I think that they renamed it because they can't use that same name, but they got the same sauce. I loved Fridays. Actually, I think I might get some TGI Fridays today.
Highest level of bankruptcies in decades, besides 2020.
Coming out of the pandemic, casual dining exploded. It was doing really well. And it's really come back to earth. And probably since about mid-2022, we've started to see traffic that has really declined on a year-over-year basis.
It's not an easy environment right now. You're coming in at a tough time.
It's a challenged industry, right? But I took over P.F. Chang's during COVID. I'm used to entering at a tough time.
Part of the reason these times are tough are because of shrimp, the centerpiece of one of the restaurant's most popular specials.
Enjoy it all, because Red
Never
Lobster's
mind.
one and only endless shrimp is now.
Never mind.
How much do you think commodity costs, kind of looking back again, could have played into some of Red Lobster's troubles, particularly when you're giving away all the shrimp?
When food costs are high, your cost of goods gets out of whack. And what that does to the rest of your restaurant margin, it really throws it off.
If a family of 4 comes in and they ordered lobster, which is a premium product, but that's what they come to us for, can you have, affordable pastas and salads and bowls to round out the table?
Rising prices mean that workers' wages have to increase to keep pace with the cost of goods.
It's difficult because it's very localized. Even within the same city, you'll have different segments of the city where wages are totally different. So you need to be watching it constantly.
Prior to the bankruptcy, some restaurants that didn't have a hostess or a bartender. What was the staffing situation when you got here?
Decisions were made that at certain volume levels, there wouldn't be a dedicated host. So as you come in as a guest, you come in and there's no host, that can be a very negative start to your dining experience.
He says he wants to change that, which experts say is not easy to do while keeping prices low.
The average restaurant worker wage is up 30%, and that's driven those menu prices up, which is, also, just caused a lot of the other inflation that's been happening there. The wage situation, the benefits, all of those things that go into creating a satisfying.
I hate when people say stuff like he speaks white. No, he speaks proper English. I don't know what speaking white means. That is a very weird thing. Like you just speak in your voice, your normal voice. You know how to speak proper English. You can communicate clearly, and then all of a sudden that says speaking white. It's like black culture has created such a negative connotation on doing the right thing that you gotta be like that, in order to be able to resonate with the people, you gotta speak like this. Yes. Or you can speak like this and still have a regular voice. And that's not code switching. That's just you speaking proper English. I don't understand the whole speaking white thing. That's so weird to me.
Worker are extremely important as part of the turnaround process.
With casual dining, are some of its challenges demographic?
I think part of the challenge that casual dining has today is that it needs to figure out ways to be more relevant to the millennial consumer, to the Gen Z consumer. Younger consumers are a lot more accustomed to a counter service, order first, fast casual style environment.
I think there's always going to be a place for the connection that you can get between a server and a guest.
Okay, I'll get that started for you all.
People want that personalized service. They want to sit down, have a great meal in a great environment. This is a brand that's been around 56 years. 98% of Americans know Red Lobster. It's one of the strongest brands in the country.
Awareness is great, but if you're an aware non-user, you're still not going to the restaurant. And so the challenge...
That's because all of these little modern women out here is saying that, oh, you gonna take me to Red Lobster? Red Lobster used to be the spot. If you, listen, when I was coming up, before I was able to even have a job, like back in high school and stuff like that, and stuff like, whatever, middle school, because my older brothers are 6 and 7 years older than me. When I was coming up, if you took a chick to Red Lobster, you was taking her to a nice restaurant. We've gotten so out of whack with this culture and flying in and flying out and making a chick great again, making women great again. Moaga, instead of MAGA is Moaga. And y'all think that y'all gotta go to Roof Chris. You don't even know how to pronounce nothing that's on the menu. You gotta take her to this high-end restaurant, this steakhouse. Oh no, girl, he gotta take me to a steakhouse. Man, I'm taking you to TGI Fridays. I think that was the first restaurant that I went to with Rita. I think I took her to Fridays for her birthday. She was so happy. I said, ooh, this one might be a keeper. It's cheaper to keep her. I don't know. Anyways, I think that he's a great guy. If he's able to turn Red Lobster around, and he's able to do it similarly to how he did with P.F. Chang's, then I think that he definitely will be able to write his own ticket. But he's young and he's only 35 years old and he's doing incredibly well.